She was a top star when Xian, driving alone through Kikexili on a road trip. But suddenly, a herd of crazed wild yaks charged after her. To make matters worse, a rich heir on the phone kept pestering her non-stop. Just then a black SUV came barreling straight at her. Fury surged through Xian as she jerked the wheel, cursing under her breath, "Damn it." With a deafening crash, the two vehicles collided, sending her red SUV flipping over. Xian lost consciousness instantly while the man on the other end panicked. "Hello? Xian, what happened? Don't scare me. I'll come find you right now." But no answer came. Half awake, her blurred vision caught sight of two men. "Boss, the intruder. It's a woman." She was dragged into a room and in her haze she felt someone tugging at her clothes. With the last of her strength she fought back. "No, don't touch me. Who's taking off my clothes?" She forced out a weak punch, making the man reluctantly pull his hand away. Hours later, Xian woke up with a pounding headache, only to realize her clothes had been changed. An old woman sitting nearby asked gently, "Child, do you remember what happened before?" Xian's face filled with confusion. "Where am I? Who are you?" The old woman, seeing she had forgotten everything, explained, "Girl, you were driving too fast. The wild yaks chased you down and it was Captain Lu and his men who saved you." Xian then recalled that before fainting someone had indeed appeared. The old woman went on, "When the doctor wasn't around, Captain Lu treated your wounds in time. Otherwise you'd still be suffering now." She immediately demanded, "Where's that bastard who made me crash?" Just then a cold, stern man stepped out of the room. "You're looking for me?" It was none other than the captain in charge of Kikexili. He was the very one who caused her crash and even saw her exposed. Xian glared at him icily. At that moment, another man entered and shut the door behind him. Xian's heart sank. What were they planning? Why lock the door? It turned out her car had crossed into a restricted zone, and Captain Lu Xiao treated her as an intruder. His tone was sharp as he demanded, "What were you doing there?" Xian thought to herself, "Why should I tell him? That's my privacy." Annoyed by how close he was standing, she shoved him hard. But the next second, he seized her wrists and pinned her down with ease. Rage flared in her eyes. "How dare you treat me like this? Do you even know who I am?" His teammate Sang Yen pulled out his badge and said coldly, "Cooperate with us or we'll list you as a criminal suspect for stealing state secrets and hand you over to the enforcement unit." Xian couldn't help but laugh. "Criminal? State secrets? Are you insane or am I?" She was about to reveal her identity. But Sang Yen cut her off, snapping, "Doesn't matter who you are. You can't escape suspicion." Inwardly he sneered. She really thinks being pretty makes her special. What, she expects everyone to know she's some big star? Xian was utterly speechless. Lu Xiao, seeing she refused to cooperate, turned and left. "We'll wait for the enforcement unit to deal with you." Sang Yen locked the door behind him. Xian's rage boiled over. She grabbed a pillow and slammed it down. What kind of lousy captain is that? No matter how tough a man acts under a woman, he'd still end up groaning. What's he pretending for? Outside the door, Captain Lu's expression darkened instantly. Sang Yen, on the other hand, muttered to himself, "Women from the big city are way too wild. Better not mess with them." Just then Zaxi called out, "Hey, come watch this. Xian's hit drama is on TV." They snacked while watching, but within moments Sang Yen shot to his feet, pointing at the screen in shock. "That's her." Captain Lu also turned to look. On screen, Xian's character stunned the court, her domineering voice booming, "Drag these useless scum out. Beat them to death with sticks." Sang Yen finally realized, maybe, just maybe, they'd arrested the wrong person. He quickly handed back her bag and said politely, "From now on, we won't restrict your movements any further." But Xian didn't play by the rules. She teased Captain Lu with a smirk. "Oh no, keep me locked up. I am your suspect, aren't I?" Captain Lu could tell she was still holding a grudge, but his tone stayed firm. "This is our duty. I hope you can understand." Xian wasn't about to let go of the man who had stripped her clothes. She snapped, "Taking off my clothes? Was that part of your job too?" But Captain Lu's face stayed cold. "Everything I did was by the book. Watch your words. For now, you're only temporarily cleared of suspicion." He pressed closer, his voice sharp. "You know you're injured. That if we wanted to detain you again, it would be effortless. Don't interfere with our duty." With that, he pinned her against the wall. When Xian was furious, he was the one in the wrong, yet he dares to act tough and won't even leave. She shot back defiantly, "What exactly can you do to me?" But in her heart she grumbled, "This guy is shameless, using his looks as a weapon. Who can stay angry at that face?" As he turned away, he said calmly, "I won't do anything to you. The cafeteria lady already prepared dinner. You can eat first, then stay mad later." When Xian swore to herself, "Even if I starve to death, I'll never touch their food." But fate slapped her fast. The very next second she was in the cafeteria, happily chewing on fragrant rice. The other team members gawked. "Holy crap, when did a bombshell join our squad? And she looks exactly like that famous actress. But wait, didn't we just see her on TV walking the red carpet? Must be someone who just looks like her." Sang Nian instantly turned into a fanboy, blurting out excitedly, "Sister Xian, is it enough? If not, I'll grab you another bun." When Xian dabbed her lips gracefully with a napkin and smiled, "I'm full. Besides, buns were what I loved when I was a kid. Now that I've grown up, I prefer playing with them." She picked one up and squeezed it in her hand. The squad members froze in shock. None of them expected Wen Xian to pull a stunt like that. With no choice, Captain Lu stepped in to restore order. His cold glare swept across the room. "If you're done eating, get back to training." Terrified, the men bolted like scared rabbits. But the moment he turned his back, the starlet teased, "Captain Lu, you really are a fake gentleman. When you stripped me, you weren't acting so proper." When Xian thought to herself, this place is way too behind the times. And this guy acting all high and mighty, like they're really that powerful here. The man replied curtly, "If you don't want to stay, you're free to leave." That set Wen Xian off. Her car was wrecked thanks to him. She still didn't even know what condition it was in. Someone had to take responsibility. The man's confidence faltered at once, realizing deep down it had indeed been his mistake. Just then, a puppy came trotting in with a sweet potato in its mouth, breaking the awkward silence. An old man followed with the leash, smiling warmly. "Look at this pup, it just loves sweet potatoes, eats them like a feast." The starlet, holding her own sweet potato, suddenly found it tasteless. "You're the real little mutt here. Your whole family are mutts." Meanwhile, Captain Lu happily crouched down to pet the puppy. "Good boy, that if you like it, have some more." Back in her room, the starlet flopped onto the bed. Bored, she pulled out her phone. She hadn't checked her messages all day. No doubt she was about to be bombarded. But the moment her screen lit up, she froze. Her lock screen was a sultry bikini photo. She bolted upright. "Wait, did that guy see this picture when he checked my phone?" Yet the man had shown absolutely no reaction. When Xian was left puzzled, did he see it or not? With looks like mine and a body like this, what man could stay indifferent? She then convinced herself, that bastard must be playing hard to get, just trying to draw my attention. Sure, his attitude was awful, but with that body and that face, honestly not the worst option. Before long, the starlet drifted into sleep. Half conscious, she felt a hand brush against her lips. She jolted awake, only to see it was him. So this is what his little game was all about. And then, things quickly turned into something unmentionable. At dawn, the starlet woke with her cheeks burning red. A split second later she screamed, because it had all been a dream. An entire night of doing that with Lu Xiao. Too humiliating to even think about. Unknowingly, when Xian had already arrived in Kikexili Prefecture, she still planned to tease that straight-laced captain. But to her surprise, with such a gorgeous woman right in front of him, Captain Lu the dog had resisted, not showing up for days. That made the starlet wonder, is he even capable? Sang Nian handed her a glass of water and they chatted casually. Then someone walked by behind them. As the starlet sipped, her gaze caught sight of him, standing against the wall, quietly playing with a kitten. Thinking back on what he just saw, he couldn't help but muse, when a little wild cat isn't scratching, it's actually pretty cute. He reached out and stroked the kitten's ear. When Xian had been fixing her car all morning, so by mealtime she was half asleep. Behind her, an old woman was gossiping. A girl in her 20s marrying some 50-year-old geezer. Unbelievable. The old man across the table smacked it with his palm. Wouldn't that ruin the poor girl? I bet Miss Wen would never do something like that. But when Xian, never one to play by the rules, smirked and shot back, 50? That's still young. If I had to choose, I'd go for an 80-year-old. A few years later he's gone and I inherit the fortune. Old Lee nearly choked on his food, coughing violently at her words. And of course, right at that moment, Captain Lu walked back in. Wen Xian's soul nearly left her body. Talk about a social death scene. Captain Lu sat down right across from her while Old Lee kept rambling on the side. Choosing a partner is serious business, the old man nagged. If the guy lives too long, you'll end up a widow. Better to find a strong, young, handsome lad. That's a real bargain. Wen Xian's mind was in total chaos. Shut up already, she fumed, gripping her spoon so tightly her knuckles turned white. But Old Lee had no idea what she was thinking. He went on bragging. Our Captain Lu is the fighter jet among men, the definition of a real man. Look at that build. You could sit on him and he'd lift you with ease. He even patted Captain Lu's arm for emphasis. Wen Xian blushed furiously and hid behind her soup bowl. Just then Captain Lu turned and their eyes met. She instantly thought of last night's dream, panic rising in her chest. Sit on him, or not? I'm not exactly light. What if I snap his arm and turn him into some tragic one-armed hero? That'd totally be my fault. Old Lee chuckled, saying she underestimated the captain. Meanwhile, Captain Lu didn't flinch, staring straight at her, even while chewing his meat. Wen Xian dropped her gaze, grumbling inwardly, "Eat your meat and stop staring at me." At that moment, Old Lee and the old woman slipped away. By the time Wen Xian wanted to speak, they were already gone. She cursed them in her heart. All that nonsense talk. And now I'm about to leave without even getting his contact. What if we never meet again? Right then, Captain Lu suddenly asked, "Wanna give it a try?" He boasted that his arms could handle 90 kilos and challenged the starlet to test him. Wen Xian was stunned. Is this guy some kind of strongman? That's insane. She couldn't help poking his arm. It felt solid. If only he wasn't wearing a shirt. Wen Xian clutched his muscular arm and said, "I want to try that. I can do it." The man chuckled softly and brushed her hand away. "In your dreams." Then he picked up his dishes and walked off. The starlet fumed. "What, showing off? So what if you've got muscles? Auntie's son is a Tibetan lad, tall, strong, way tougher than you. If you won't let me try yours, I'll test his instead," she said, her hand trailing over the young boy's delicate face. But Captain Lu shot her a glare. "Be serious. He's 7. Wen Xian nearly exploded, storming off in fury. Meanwhile, Captain Lu calmly washed his dishes. Seeing her stomp away, he actually laughed to himself. Teasing her is kind of fun. He went back to scrubbing plates with focus. Wen Xian squatted nearby, flicking a lighter in her hand. Deep down she wondered, Lu Xiao doesn't seem like a local. So why would he be living in such a remote place? At that moment she noticed Lu Xiao leaving and, filled with curiosity, quietly trailed after him. When she lifted the curtain, she froze. He had taken off his jacket and was forging a blade over a homemade furnace. Seeing her enter, the man pulled out a cigarette and asked flatly, "What? Not allowed?" Lu Xiao placed a firm hand on her shoulder, pulling her upright. His eyes locked on hers as he slowly leaned closer. With his face inching nearer, Wen Xian had no idea what he was about to do. But the next second he lit the lighter in her hand, guiding it to his cigarette. The starlet was completely rattled. The closeness, the heat, she swallowed hard without meaning to. Yet all he said was, "Thanks for the light." Then he walked away, leaving her stunned. She fumed at his audacity but deep down admitted, his charm was dangerously magnetic, making her want more. After working all afternoon, Captain Lu was handed a steaming bowl of soup by Auntie, urging him to sit and eat. Just then, footsteps echoed. Everyone turned to see Wen Xian in a flowing red dress, her allure stealing the breath of every man in the room. Auntie's son eagerly slapped the seat beside him, inviting her over. Wen Xian thought smugly, "Let's see him resist me now." She didn't notice Captain Lu behind her, slipping off his jacket. As soon as she sat down, something warm draped over her shoulders. Lu Zhao's face was stern as he spoke. "The temperature's dropping. Everyone keep warm." Wen Xian told him she wasn't cold, but the man stubbornly insisted she was. She rolled her eyes inwardly. What a clueless straight man. As a top star, she hadn't felt such simple happiness in ages. Maybe never at all. Tomorrow she would be leaving, but with him she wanted to say a proper goodbye. Tonight, surely he'd have some time. She threw a flirtatious wink at Captain Lu across the table that he froze on the spot. Avoiding her gaze, flustered, he couldn't handle just how beautiful she was. Meanwhile, her foot slid forward, secretly brushing against his under the table. And right then, clatter. Sang Yan's chopsticks dropped, startling Wen Xian into snapping her foot back. She seethed inside. That damn man. Fine, if not now, I'll find another chance. That I swear I'll conquer him tonight. At that moment, she reported to the captain. This afternoon we found an injured white-lipped deer. Its condition isn't good. Lu Xiao knew the wound wasn't accidental. That it had to be the work of a poaching ring targeting rare, protected species. He decided they'd act tomorrow and discuss the plan tonight. After dinner, Wen Xian strolled outside. But the drastic temperature drop left her shivering, so she tucked her hands into her coat pockets for warmth. Her fingers brushed something. Curious, she pulled it out, a pack of cigarettes and a lighter. He froze. Wait, he clearly borrowed my lighter earlier. So he had one all along. That man, he did it on purpose. At that moment, a hand snatched the cigarette and lighter away. Liu Xiao said flatly, "This stuff's too strong. It's not for you." He then turned to play with the puppy. Wen Xian chuckled softly. "Captain Lu, I'm leaving tomorrow." His hand stilled for a beat before he replied calmly, "Your car's been fixed. Your identity checked. You're free to leave anytime." Yet he kept his eyes on the dog while Wen Xian fumed inside. That mutt acting like it's the only one he cares for. She shot the puppy a vicious glare. After her shower, she lay on the bed, restless. She'd been here this long and still didn't even have his number. If she left at dawn, would she really never see him again? Unwilling to accept that, she sat up, slipped into a sexy camisole, and strode out. A dark night is perfect for a raid. Tonight I'll conquer him for sure. She knocked on his door, nerves bubbling in her chest. This was her first time ever making the first move on a man. Honestly, she was nervous. The door creaked open. Wen Xian lifted her gaze and their eyes locked, both stunned by what they saw. His shirt hung open, revealing a chiseled 8-pack for the squad captain. His physique was flawless. Still, his brows furrowed. What was she doing here at this hour? Wen Xian couldn't help but smirk. Jackpot. Captain Lu, we're both adults. You tell me, what else would I be here for in the middle of the night? But instead of being tempted by the sultry starlet at his doorstep, the man barked at her in anger. Shameless. Sneaking into a man's room at midnight, have you no decency? Wen Xian tried to sneak in a grab, but his hand shot up instantly, catching her in the act. She huffed, thinking he was being way too uptight. After all, the first time they met, he'd already stripped off her clothes while treating her wounds. Hadn't he seen everything already? His fury erupted as he shoved her back and roared, "I'm not part of your flashy world. Don't bring that reckless lifestyle onto me." Her temper flared. Reckless. She sneered. Plenty of men were dying to chase her. What was this guy so smug about? He let out a cold laugh. Any woman sneaking into a man's room at midnight isn't exactly innocent either. Wen Xian snapped back. Fine. I never claimed to be a saint. All that gentle, caring image. Nothing but an act for the public. In truth, she had no love, no kindness, no sympathy. Whatever she wanted, she'd grab it, by any means necessary. And yet, this heartless woman found herself drawn to a man like him. Unyielding, upright, incorruptible. In front of him, she felt like nothing more than a ridiculous clown. He barked at her again, ordering her to leave at once. But when Xian yanked his collar, teeth clenched. God, I hate you, this fake holier-than-thou act of yours. She suddenly pulled him down and crushed her lips against his. But he wasn't swayed for a second. He shoved her off and she crashed onto the bed. Lu Xiao wiped his mouth with his hand, lost for words at this woman's audacity. When Xian's anger blazed, she gave a cold laugh. Good. Very good. No one has ever dared reject me like this. When Xian rose with a dark face and flung her shoe across the room, Liu Xiao frowned, baffled at what she was up to. She tied her hair back in one swift motion, then launched a high kick straight into his chest. He stared in disbelief at the dainty foot pressed against him. Turns out Wen Xian wasn't just an actress, she could fight. She smirked. I'll come clean. I'm the national women's Sonda champion. With that, she grabbed his collar. But in the blink of an eye, he reversed it, pinning her wrists above her head, trapping her against the wall. Don't push me too far, he growled. Then he leaned down and silenced her with a fierce kiss. No one knew how long it lasted. His grip never loosened. A man like Captain Lu couldn't hide his feelings, even if he never admitted them. When Xian chuckled, her eyes glancing slyly to the side. She strolled off humming a tune, smug as ever. Lu Xiao slammed a fist into the wall. That damn woman, she really needs to be taught a lesson. Back in her room, Wen Xian packed her luggage, regretting ever provoking him. And yet, men like him were rare. The rarer they were, the harder it was to resist. A knock came. Liu Xiao stepped in, handed her some local specialties from Alma and said calmly, "I'll wait outside. Leave when you're ready." Wen Xian let out a long sigh. Last night seemed to leave no trace on him at all. But on her, it lingered like fire in her chest. Just then, the mutt snatched her underwear and bolted. Wen Xian exploded, shouting, "You little beast!" Hearing the commotion, Liu Xiao rushed in. What happened? And there it was, his dog sprinting ahead while Wen Xian chased after it, brandishing her suitcase like a weapon. Liu Xiao quickly grabbed her, holding her back. "Calm down, don't hurt it." But even restrained, Wen Xian kicked furiously in the dog's direction. "That mangy mutt stole my underwear. How the hell am I supposed to calm down?" In the struggle, their bodies brushed together. Both froze for a split second. Wen Xian yanked free, glaring coldly at him. Liu Xiao coughed awkwardly, breaking the tension. "The dog's mistake is on me. I'll buy you a new one." She sneered. "Oh really? And how exactly will you replace it?" Then it hit her, "Buy me a new one himself. Brilliant." She burst into laughter while Liu Xiao felt a shiver of dread. Packing up quickly, Wen Xian pressed before he could take it back. "So, how are you going to make it up to me?" "Don't even think of giving me money," she added. "That's boring, and besides, where would I even spend it here?" Liu Xiao silently cursed himself. Too late to backtrack now. He sighed. "If it's on the way, I'll take you to buy underwear." Wen Xian's destination just happened to be along the same route as Liu Xiao's. Of course, she wasn't about to tell him she'd already pumped Sang Nian for intel on their mission site. She slipped on her sunglasses, tapped the car window, and the two vehicles set out. One ahead, one behind. But Wen Xian floored it, forcing Liu Xiao to overtake her and roll down his window to warn her to slow down. Instead of slowing, she flashed him a cheeky hand gesture and hit the gas, roaring past. Liu Xiao had never seen a woman this wild. She could fight, she could street race, and she had the guts to knock on a man's door at midnight. This woman was begging for trouble. Meanwhile, the persistent rich kid called again, promising her an entire real estate company if she'd just be his girlfriend. Wen Xian flatly rejected him and hung up. Liu Xiao was still fuming about her reckless driving when Wen Xian caught up, whining playfully, "I can't even keep up. Slow down already." Only then did he finally stop. But the moment the car halted, Wen Xian tossed her phone and purse into his lap without a second thought. Liu Xiao was speechless. Did this woman really see him as her personal assistant? And right on cue, her phone rang again, the rich kid, of course. Wen Xian panicked and instantly hung up. She scrambled to explain, claiming it was just her new assistant messing up work. But Liu Xiao had already caught her. People touch their nose when they lie, and she'd just done it. Wen Xian seethed inside, cursing Huiqi 1,000 times over. Damn it, all his fault. He already thinks my world's a mess. Now the misunderstanding's even worse. Wen Xian clung to his arm, pouting that she was starving. Just as Liu Xiao was about to refuse, his stomach growled loudly. With a helpless sigh, he asked what she wanted to eat. She pointed at a lamb restaurant nearby, already drooling from the savory aroma. But the moment they stepped in, a foul stench hit her nose. What ticked her off even more? The waitress started flirting with Liu Xiao right in front of her. Wen Xian slammed the table. "Seriously, do you not see me sitting right here?" Then she spotted his WeChat. Thinking she should at least grab his contact, she tried, but he flat out rejected her. She muttered curses under her breath as he walked away. But the second she saw his phone left behind, she snatched it up and added herself anyway. Of course, Liu Xiao saw the whole thing. When he came back, Wen Xian hummed innocently like nothing happened. He glanced at the new contact name and sighed. This woman's taste was unique. Just then, Wen Xian noticed the meat on a waitress's tray. She leaned closer, whispering, "What kind of meat is that? The surface has scales about the size of a fingernail." She gestured subtly in that direction. Liu Xiao's eyes sharpened. He shot up from his seat. He suspected it was pangolin meat. He had to check it out. To be safe, he told Wen Xian, "Wait at the door. The moment you hear dishes crash, call the police." The group was still eating when the door suddenly burst open. They shouted angrily at the intruder. But when Liu Xiao spotted the pangolin, a top-tier protected species, on their table, his fury ignited. He flashed his badge. Eating wildlife like this is a criminal offense. You're all coming with me to the forestry bureau. The ringleader panicked, pulling out a fat stack of cash, begging Lu Xiao to let it slide. It's our first time, I swear. But in a flash, his wrist was twisted and he screamed in pain. Lu Xiao barked, bribing an officer. That makes it worse. None of you are walking out of here today. The other two exchanged a look and one suddenly hurled a plate at Lu Xiao. Run. Outside, when Xian heard the crash, she blinked in surprise. That was fast. She quickly dialed the hotline. Someone's selling illegal wildlife here. At the same time, the restaurant manager caught wind of the trouble and tried to slip away, only to run straight into Wen Xian. She smirked and stuck out her foot, tripping him flat on his face. Back inside, the tension spiked. A thug brandished a bottle at Lu Xiao, snarling, "Do you even know who we are? Cross us and you'll regret it for life." Lu Xiao glared back coldly. "I don't care who you think you are. No one's escaping tonight." With a furious roar, the man swung the bottle down at him. "You're dead." But the next second, the thug was sent flying by a swift high kick. The rest of the troublemakers were pinned down in moments, leaving everyone else frozen in fear. Lu Xiao growled, "Anyone who takes one step out, loses a leg." He scolded them furiously. "Do you idiots not know how many bacteria and viruses wild animals carry? Haven't we learned enough from past outbreaks? How many more people have to pay for your stupidity?" When he stepped out of the room, he stopped short. When Xian was calmly sipping tea and at her feet lay a man. She lifted her chin proudly. "That's the hotel manager. Tried to run, I caught him." Her expression screamed, "Praise me already." But Lu Xiao's eyes went straight to her injured hand. He grabbed it and examined it carefully, his face tight with concern. For a moment, when Xian thought, maybe being nicked by flying glass wasn't such bad luck after all, she teased lightly, "It's just a scratch, don't worry." Lu Xiao's tone hardened. "You're bleeding. Still think that's not serious? Do you need to be crippled before you'll listen?" He pulled her along with him, stomping on the fallen culprit on the way out. When Xian's heart bubbled with delight, "So he really does care about me." Still, the cut on her hand had him shaken. He rushed her back to the car and carefully treated the wound. When Xian tried to ease him, "It's nothing serious, Captain Luda, don't worry so much." But he replied coldly, "I'd do the same for anyone who got hurt." But when Xian didn't buy it, his so-called equal treatment made her chuckle coldly. "Oh really?" She leaned closer, eyes locking on his. "Then what if it's your girlfriend?" He grew uneasy, unable to meet her gaze. "My girlfriend has nothing to do with you," he said stiffly. "If you want attention, call one of those men blowing up your phone." When Xian shrugged, unbothered. "Sure, I've got plenty chasing me. Too bad none of them are worth my time. My standards are high." He kept his head down, carefully bandaging her hand. When Xian glanced at the finished wrap and asked softly, "Aren't you curious what kind of man I actually want?" He turned toward the window, replying flatly, "Not interested." But she continued anyway. "The man I like must be upright, incorruptible, someone who makes me feel I'm not good enough, that he has to be responsible, dependable. And most of all, when a woman throws herself at him in the middle of the night, he has to resist." Before meeting him, Wen Xian truly hadn't known what kind of man she liked. But now with him, everything suddenly had a clear definition. Lu Xiao thought to himself, this woman really was a star. Her tricks for seduction came one after another. Too bad he wasn't a man to be toyed with. He said coolly, "Those moves won't work on me. Once you buy your clothes, we're even. I don't have time to play your little love games." When Xian wasn't surprised by his words, but the sting of disappointment still crept in, she lowered her voice. "Sorry, I must have bothered you, Captain Lu." He was surprised. For someone usually so delicate, she didn't complain once about her injury. Even when she said such harsh words earlier, he hadn't argued back. Just as when Xian was about to get out of the car, Lu Xiao stopped her, insisting she ride with him. Driving one-handed wasn't safe. When Xian waved it off, saying the small wound didn't matter. But he refused, his voice stern. "No, this is the town center, crowded with people. You can ignore your own safety, but you can't gamble with other people's lives." When Xian froze for a moment, then softly admitted, "You're right that I was being selfish." Lu Xiao frowned, that he wasn't used to this. She acted like everything she said was gospel. He couldn't tell what game she was playing now. She struggled with one hand to pull the seatbelt across. A big hand suddenly reached over, snatching it from her and buckling it in place. Their faces were so close, all Wenxian had to do was tilt her head, and their lips would meet. And just like that she kissed him. He went stiff with shock. His face flushed instantly. This brazen woman had finally stolen the kiss she'd been angling for. But afterward she looked innocent, whispering, "Sorry, Captain Lu, I didn't mean to." His face turned even redder. He couldn't look at her, knowing full well she'd done it on purpose. Flustered, he twisted the key to start the car. Then her hand reached out again. He thought she was about to explain and cut her off. I don't want to hear it." He turned the key harder. Wenxian tried to protest, "That's not what I..." But he cut her off again. "Explanations mean excuses. Excuses mean you planned it. What else do you want to say?" Wenxian was speechless, finally pointing down with exasperation. "I was just going to say, you forgot the handbrake." He froze in embarrassment, finally glancing at the forgotten handbrake. Wenxian, however, was in high spirits, leaning back to admire the scenery. "The West really is blessed with beauty and talent," she sighed. Moments later, Lu Xiao stiffly stepped into the store. The clerk greeted him warmly, joking, "Not many men these days accompany their wives to buy lingerie." The clerk added with a grin, "And isn't your wife the famous star Wenxian? Better keep a close eye on her." Lu Xiao's face went rigid as Wenxian happily browsed through lacy bralettes. She held up two sexy designs, flashing a mischievous smile. "Which one looks better?" Lu Xiao panicked, squeezing his eyes shut and waving his hands. "I don't know. Pick whatever, don't ask me." But Wenxian wanted his choice. She leaned close to his ear and whispered, "I'll model it for you." He slapped his hands over his ears and stumbled back in a hurry. This woman was outrageous. His face burned red. "Don't choose. Just buy them all." Wenxian blew him a playful kiss, then slipped into the fitting room. "Wait outside for me." The iron-willed captain obeyed, standing guard outside like a loyal sentry. Then her sweet, helpless voice drifted out. "I need your help. My hands hurt. I can't fasten. I tell you, Xiao, I tried, but it hurts too much that I really don't have the strength." Wenxian turned into a sly little fox, her voice honey-sweet. "Don't overthink it, I mean nothing else. Just slip your hand in and fasten it for me, okay?" Lu Xiao froze for a moment, but when he remembered her injured hand, his heart softened. "Open the curtain," he told her. With his eyes shut tight, he reached inside the booth, fumbling until he found the clasp and fastened it for her. At that moment, Wenxian looked breathtaking, thinking smugly, "Lu Xiao, I dare you not to feel something now." But just as the tension thickened, his phone rang. Before Wenxian could step out, he was already gone. After that lingerie trip, 3 whole days passed without a single word between them. Damn it, this man can really hold out. Wenxian admitted defeat, fuming that he could so cleanly distance himself. She finally shot him a message on WeChat. "Here's to our friendship. Cheers." On the other side, Lu Xiao was in the middle of a sting, leading his squad to arrest poachers trafficking protected animals. He had just caught one with a thick Eastern accent. The suspect broke free and bolted. Lu Xiao chased him down relentlessly. The man scrambled onto a bus, darting his eyes left and right, scanning for pursuers. Seeing no one, he slumped into a seat, sighing in relief. Finally, safe. But what he didn't know, Lu Xiao hadn't lost him at all. That he was already crouched silently atop the bus. Inside, the conductor called out, "Everyone aboard. We're leaving now." Soon after, a bearded man with a cane boarded the bus. The fugitive glanced nervously at his watch. "Still over an hour to Manhwa County. Please, no trouble before then." He pulled out his phone, speaking in a hushed tone, arranging for someone to pick him up. "Everyone on our side got caught." His eyes darted left and right as he added, "The trade route's been exposed. We'll have to lay low for a while. See you tomorrow." And just then, in disguise, Lu Xiao opened his eyes and smirked. "Finally, I've got you." When they stepped off the bus, the sky broke into a downpour. The fugitive cursed as he ran. "Damn weather." Lu Xiao sprinted close behind. Back at the hotel, Lu Xiao scrubbed off his disguise. Only then did he have time to check his messages. Opening WeChat, he saw Wenxian's text and muttered, "So this is a movie star's taste?" Meanwhile, fresh from her shower, Wenxian finally saw his reply. "Who is this? I don't have your name saved." After waiting the whole day, Wenxian finally got a reply. With a wicked grin, she typed, "This is fake Lu Xiao, your colleague from the Forestry Bureau." The moment Lu Xiao read "fake Lu Xiao," his face darkened. He felt personally insulted. On her end, Wen Xian burst into laughter. "Serves you right for roasting me all the time. Now let's see if you're scared." Wen Xian never expected that the Forestry Bureau actually had someone named Aunt Shang, and she turned out to be a real middle-aged woman. Playing along, Wen Xian boldly claimed she was Aunt Shang, and asked if Lu Xiao had a girlfriend, saying she wanted to set him up. To her shock, Lu Xiao agreed without hesitation. Wen Xian nearly exploded. "Unbelievable, he rejects a gorgeous star like me but accepts a blind date from some random aunt. Fine Lu Xiao, you're dead to me." After his shower, Lu Xiao checked his phone and froze. The next message from Aunt Shang read, "I've actually fallen for you to see Lonely Widow. I can't stop thinking about your abs, and if I don't get a hold of you, I'll regret it forever." Wen Xian sat waiting for his reply. 20 minutes, then half an hour passed but still nothing. She clenched her teeth. "Damn you, Lu dog. If you won't reply, then I won't text either." But then an idea popped into her head and she smirked wickedly. Meanwhile, Lu Xiao was busy monitoring the suspect next door. The man seemed to be asleep and unlikely to escape tonight, so Lu Xiao finally let himself relax. He glanced at his phone. The woman who had been spamming him like crazy was now completely silent. Did she fall asleep? When he unlocked his phone, a seductive photo popped up, along with a message. "I'm calling you my man and you're still keeping your pants on. What are you afraid of?" Lu Xiao's face turned pitch black as he stared at the picture, unsettled. Is this public for everyone to see? Or did she send it only to me? Was she hinting at something? He clearly remembered the red birthmark on her chest, the one he noticed the first time he bandaged her. The upright man didn't delete the photo. Instead, he quietly saved it. That night, when Xian tossed and turned in bed, the thought of never seeing him again made her heart ache. She might tease him and make him angry, but she truly worried about him. His work was so dangerous. Where was he now? She missed him more than she wanted to admit. The next morning, when Xian wandered into a mask shop and picked out a fierce-looking mask that caught her eye. Just as she removed it to pay, she froze, because in the mirror she saw the very man she'd been dreaming of. Was Lu Xiao here on a mission? Or was he here for her? At that moment, a man in a hat brushed past her. When Xian recognized him instantly, she slipped the mask back on. Fate had brought them together again, but she didn't want to disrupt his work. Lu Xiao, ever alert, felt eyes on him, their gazes locked across the shop. When Xian pulled off her mask and tossed it to him, "That man went that way," she said. Lu Xiao hadn't expected it. The one behind the mask was really her. Meanwhile, the target was on the phone with his contact. The voice on the other end pressed him again. "You're sure no one's tailing you?" The man snapped in fury. "You doubting me? I shook them off yesterday, drove 100 kilometers out. No way he's still on me." His contact tried to calm him down, saying it was just for safety's sake. After confirming he was alone, the man demanded the drop-off location. But right behind him, a group of curious kids was already circling around a masked figure. Lu Xiao pulled off the mask, eyes locked on the man as he slipped into a residential building. Observing quietly, he noted, the first 4 floors were full of regular tenants. Only the 5th and 6th floors could be the hideout. To blend in, he changed into a different outfit. Moments later, a rough-looking Lu Xiao swaggered onto the scene. As soon as he reached the stairs, a bald thug and a tank-top brute blocked his path. The tank-top guy snarled, "Hey, who the hell are you? What are you doing here?" Lu Xiao flicked his cigarette to the ground, crushed it under his heel, then wiped his mouth. His voice turned cold. "Who I am is none of your damn business. What right do you have to question me?" The tank-top thug sneered back. "Right? The right that you don't live here, that you're not leaving until you explain yourself." Lu Xiao's heart sank that he hadn't expected these guys to be this strict. Just then, a sultry female voice cut through the air, stunning everyone. "Baby, you said you wanted something exciting, and we're doing it in this dingy stairwell?" When Xian suddenly threw herself into Lu Xiao's arms, catching him completely off guard. She whined sweetly, "You're terrible, darling. There are hotels everywhere, but you had to drag me here. I'm not even ready yet." The bald thug and the tank-top brute exchanged awkward looks. So that's what these two are up to. Right then, when Xian shrieked in mock panic, lifting her head. Honey, who are those people? Why are they watching us?" She clung tighter to his chest, trembling as if terrified to even look at them. Liu Xiao couldn't help but sigh inwardly. What a gutsy woman. Tilting her chin up, he lowered his head and kissed her. Wen Xian's face turned crimson, but she still played along, murmuring breathlessly, "Darling, you're amazing." Liu Xiao shot the two thugs a cold glare. "What are you staring at? Get lost." The bald man and his buddy scurried upstairs, muttering, "People these days, doing it in the stairwell. Society's doomed." Wen Xian whispered under her breath, "They're gone, right?" Her eyes sparkled as she looked at him, teasing, "Lu Captain, who knew? Mr. Straight and Narrow turning into a street punk. Kinda hot, actually." Seeing the coast was clear, Liu Xiao ordered sternly, "Go downstairs, you shouldn't be here." But Wen Xian refused. The situation upstairs was still unknown, and she couldn't bear the thought of him facing danger alone. Liu Xiao would never allow her to stay. In a cold tone, he ordered her to leave. The rest of his team was on their way and he had to go upstairs now. But just as he turned to climb the stairs, Wen Xian grabbed him, demanding, "I only played along because I had no choice. But why did you kiss me for real? What was that about?" Leaning close to his ear, she whispered, "I'll be waiting downstairs. You'd better give me a proper explanation later." True to her word, Wen Xian went down, while Liu Xiao tightened his grip on the dagger in his hand. Moments later, he reached the rooftop where the thugs were having their fun. The bald brute had just lost a fight and the tank-top guy mocked, "What's wrong? Still worked up over those two lovebirds downstairs?" The bald man snarled and kicked the cage. "If things weren't so tense right now, I'd already have had a taste of it myself." Inside, a small monkey was knocked around violently, while blood leaked from a nearby sack, pooling across the floor. At that moment, Liu Xiao was scaling the window ledge. Just as the bald thug swore he'd make someone pay. Bang! With a thunderous crash, Liu Xiao smashed through the window. The tank-top man finally realized they'd been tricked. The bald thug roared in fury, brandishing a club. "You're dead meat, boy. I'll tear you apart tonight." Liu Xiao's gaze turned icy. His left fist smashed into the bald thug's face, sending teeth flying. Without pause, he lashed out with a flying kick, sending the tank-top brute crashing to the floor. Another man froze in recognition. This was the same guy who had taken down Zhuangzi before. If he'd tracked them all the way here, then this man truly had skill. With him in the picture, their operation was doomed. Snarling, the long-haired thug pulled out a pistol. "This guy must die tonight." Liu Xiao sent another man flying with a swift kick, only to look up and find a gun pointed straight at his head. The long-haired thug sneered, his voice like ice, "Go on, keep fighting. Aren't you tough? Charging into our den all by yourself?" At that moment, the tank-top thug swung a club from behind, landing a heavy blow on Liu Xiao. The bald man spat curses. "Weren't you cocky just now? Pretending to be one of us to trick me?" He lifted his leg and launched a brutal kick. But the very next second, agony ripped through him. A dagger had pierced his thigh that he howled in pain. Just then, the long-haired thug steadied his aim, gun trained on Liu Xiao. "Die!" he roared. Downstairs, bystanders gasped in shock. They never imagined these thugs actually had a gun. Wen Xian's heart lurched. Overcome with fear, she bolted upstairs without hesitation. The scene upstairs turned critical. Liu Xiao yanked a fat thug in front of him, using the man's body to block the incoming bullet. At that moment, someone shouted that reinforcements were coming up from below. The long-haired thug cursed and fired several shots in a row. Liu Xiao sprinted, narrowly dodging the bullets. He dove behind a couch just as the long-haired man bolted out the door. The thug had barely stepped into the hall when he ran straight into Wen Xian, who had rushed up in worry. In the next instant, he seized her by the arm, pressing the gun to her temple. "You're coming with me. Move and I'll blow your head off." Liu Xiao's gut tightened. With the barrel digging into Wen Xian, the thug barked, "Call your men off. Nobody comes up, only you." Wen Xian, knowing this man had to die or he'd haunt them forever, feigned panic and screamed, "Help! Don't let anyone come up. Please, I don't want to die." Liu Xiao instantly caught on. She wasn't just panicking, she was deliberately making herself the hostage, afraid others would charge in and get shot. This woman, she's insane. Just then, Sang Nian and his team arrived. He had never seen his boss's face so grim. Liu Xiao snapped, "Stay back. Not one step further." The long-haired thug dragged Wen Xian backward, step by step, until they reached the rooftop. Liu Xiao followed closely, warning in a low growl, stop retreating. One wrong move and you'll fall to your death. The thug noticed how tense he was and sneered. So she is your woman, huh? Before Lu Xiao could respond, Wen Xian cried out on purpose. Honey, what do we do? Please save me. Our baby is inside me. Lu Xiao glared at the man without saying a word. The long-haired thug burst into laughter, smug with his luck. He had snagged the ace card by accident. No wonder this guy looked so rattled. So she really is his wife. Lu Xiao's voice was steady. Name your terms, as long as you let her go, I'll agree to anything. The thug's grin twisted. That's what I wanted to hear. You don't want her dead. Simple. Life for life. Cut your guts open. I want you dead. Lu Xiao's grip tightened on the dagger. When Xian's eyes welled with tears, she couldn't bear to watch him harm himself. Their eyes locked in a silent, desperate exchange. The next moment, Lu Xiao clenched the blade as if he had accepted the demand. When Xian screamed, her voice trembling, No, don't do it, honey, please. Lu Xiao raised the dagger, aiming it at his own stomach. The thug sneered, goading him on. Yes, that's it. Stab yourself and it's all over. When Xian's face was filled with dread, seeing Lu Xiao hesitate, the thug barked again. Do it. Don't you dare stall or play tricks. But before he could finish, when Xian spun, throwing him over her shoulder in a brutal slam to the ground. Lu Xiao dashed forward, slashing his hand with the dagger, forcing him to drop the gun. When Xian planted her foot on his chest and teased, picking on a poor pregnant lady, that's not very gentlemanly. Time to pay the price. She even stuck out her tongue mischievously. The thug roared with rage, cursing, You bitch! I'll kill you. Lu Xiao cut him off coldly. Save it for your next life. Poaching protected animals, smuggling firearms, taking hostages, you're going to rot behind bars. The officers who had rushed in surrounded them, thanking Lu Xiao. They had been chasing this poaching ring for a long time. As the criminals were taken away, when Xian beamed, trying to greet Lu Xiao, but he ignored her completely and walked off. Fuming, she followed downstairs, only to find him gently soothing the injured monkey. She never cared for animals, but watching the little thing suffer still tugged at her heart. Lu Xiao told Sang Yan to take it back and get proper treatment. Passing by Wen Xian again, he ignored her once more. She clenched her fists in anger. Great, that's twice you've brushed me off. She finally snapped, shouting his name. The man froze mid-step. Lu Xiao, do you think I don't exist? Sang Yan and the others stood dumbfounded, unsure what was going on between their leader and the celebrity. Lu Xiao ordered them to leave. Go, I'll handle this myself. Then he yanked Wen Xian's hand. Come with me. She protested furiously. What are you doing? That hurts. But the next second he gripped her cheeks harder. You're not afraid of dying, yet you're afraid of a little pain? His voice was cold and sharp. Do you even know what you're doing? You think a few tricks make you invincible. Why do you always have to play the hero? Then he slammed his fist down on her head, clearly worried sick, yet his tone was still harsh. They had guns. You could have died. Did that ever cross your mind? When Xian froze that he was right. She was a superstar living a life of luxury, money she couldn't even spend. So why risk her life like this? Even she couldn't figure it out, except that she couldn't stand seeing him in danger. Lu Xiao was left speechless because her only reason was that she was afraid he might die. When Xian had lived too long in a twisted, chaotic world, she'd endured violence, hunger, and poverty, and witnessed the vanity and selfishness of the rich. To her, the world had always been survival of the fittest. Until he appeared, proving that people like him did exist. Righteous, selfless, willing to risk everything to protect others. They came from completely different worlds, yet she couldn't fight the primal urge to draw closer to him. With that thought, when Xian suddenly grabbed Lu Xiao's collar, yanked him toward her and kissed him hard. He couldn't resist anymore, he kissed her back. On the side, Sang Yan stood frozen in shock, until another teammate covered his eyes and dragged him away. No one knew how much time had passed when Lu Xiao finally pulled back, his face burning red. What the hell do you want from me? Inside he was even more torn. Was she serious or just toying with him? The next moment, when Xian told him she had a flight back to Shanghai tomorrow night, and gave him her hotel room number. This is my last night in Qinghai, Lu Xiao. Tonight I'll be waiting for you. She picked up her hat and left with a faint, shy smile. As night fell, when Xian sat in her hotel room, everything prepared. This journey was ending, but her heart was staying here. At that very moment, Lu Xiao arrived at the hotel as promised. Just as he came upstairs, he saw the waiter delivering the wine and desserts Wen Xian had ordered. He froze on the spot. The second the waiter turned to leave, he slipped into the stairwell to hide. Frustrated, he lit a cigarette that he couldn't understand himself. Why was he here? Why had he let her get under his skin? Inside the room, Wen Xian kept waiting, but no one came. So she downed the entire bottle of wine herself. She sighed bitterly. How naive of her. A man that serious, that stubborn, could never really come to her. In his eyes, she was probably just a woman looking for a one-night stand. And so, inside and outside that room, both of them lay awake through the night. The next morning, Wen Xian steadied her emotions and decided to spend her last day before leaving wandering around the city. At the stairwell, Lu Xiao, cigarette in hand, spotted her first. Hearing hurried footsteps behind her, Wen Xian spun around, only to find no one there. She called out, "Lu Xiao." She rushed down the stairs, her heart racing. Wasn't it him? It had to be him. That fool. Why would he come all this way only to stand outside the door? Tears welled up in her eyes. But in the next second, her foot slipped and she tumbled down the stairs. The ache in her heart, stacked on top of the pain in her body, broke her completely. She couldn't hold back her tears, nor understand why fate had to be this cruel. She pushed through the pain and ran after him, but by then Lu Xiao had already gotten into a taxi. He clearly saw Wen Xian, yet coldly ordered the driver to pull away. His mother had taught him since childhood. Once you choose someone, you must treat her well, respect her, protect her, and remain loyal for life. Wen Xian, I can't give you a one-night fling. What I want is lifelong loyalty. But to you, that's just a shackle. That we're from two different worlds. Let's end it here. When he returned to his unit, Sang Nian brought bad news. Today, a tour group had gone missing in the Manhwa mountains. While putting on his uniform, Lu Xiao instructed Sang Nian to confirm the last GPS location of the vehicles and the list of missing people. They were preparing to head out immediately. The weather turned against them. Lightning cracked, thunder roared. Sang Nian finalized the list. 2 drivers, 1 guide, 7 tourists hailing from Beijing, Fuzhou, and Shanghai. Suddenly, Sang Nian stammered in shock, because among the missing tourists was a woman named Wen Xian. Lu Xiao slammed on the brakes, thinking he must have misheard. He snatched the phone from Sang Nian, and on the screen was Wen Xian's name, unmistakable. Cold sweat broke out across Lu Xiao's back. Suddenly, a massive bolt of lightning struck ahead. Not far away, a tour bus was stuck in a pothole. The harder the driver hit the gas, the deeper it sank. The passengers couldn't hold back their fear, worried they might die out here. At that moment, Wen Xian felt cursed. First chased by wild oxen on her way here, and now trapped in this place. Her breathing suddenly grew difficult. It was deadly altitude sickness. She feared she might really die here, yet deep down she was unwilling. She hadn't even slept with that man yet. But her body gave out. She collapsed and was quickly discovered by her companions. The girl never expected the one who fainted to be the famous star Wen Xian, and panic instantly set in. She hurried to strap an oxygen mask onto Wen Xian, shouting non-stop, "Wake up! Don't fall asleep!" Another passenger took his anger out on the driver, kicking him furiously. "I must have burned through 8 lifetimes of bad luck. What kind of junk car are you driving, trying to get us all killed?" The driver snapped, yanking the man's shirt. "You think I wanted this? What's the point of fighting now?" A heavy-set man stepped in to break it up. "Enough! Beating each other won't help. The more we fight, the deeper this bus sinks." A female passenger burst into tears, crying that she didn't want to die. The noise and sobbing roused Wen Xian. She groggily opened her eyes as if spotting a familiar figure outside the bus. The arguing passengers suddenly heard a loud clang, followed by a chilling gust of wind. None of them could figure out how a draft slipped into the sealed cabin. Then they saw it. One woman had bolted outside like she'd gone mad. Did I end this kind of storm? The others panicked, shouting, "It's dangerous. Come back." But Wen Xian couldn't hear a thing. She just kept walking forward. Because she saw Lu Xiao standing not far away, saying to her, "Wen Xian, why are you always in such a mess?" She couldn't help but reach out her hand, not noticing the ground beneath her. A branch caught her foot and she tumbled to the ground. When she tried to reach out again, she realized it had only been an illusion. Meanwhile, Lu Xiao was speeding ahead. Sang Nian looked worried. unsure if they would ever find Sister Xian. Lu Xiao floored the gas, the off-road vehicle practically taking flight. As the car slammed back to the ground, they were stunned and overjoyed to see someone up ahead. In that moment, when Xian refused to die, she wanted to live. After clawing her way to where she stood today, after finally opening her heart to a man, her body betrayed her and collapsed forward. Lu Xiao caught her just in time, holding her tightly in his arms. When Xian, don't be afraid, I'm here. Back inside the vehicle, when Xian couldn't stop coughing, Lu Xiao barked orders at Sang Nian, bring the oxygen tank and the first aid kit now. When Xian's altitude sickness had triggered severe complications, Liu Xiao recognized it as pulmonary edema. He injected her with morphine to calm her down. Then he told Sang Nian to assist in rescuing the others, while he himself had to rush when Xian back for treatment. Even in her coma, when Xian kept calling Lu Xiao's name, he held her tightly against his chest, whispering, "When Xian, I'm here." Do people see the ones they love most before losing consciousness? As when Xian opened her eyes, she found herself in an unfamiliar place. Only then did she realize this wasn't a dream. She had truly been saved. Just as she wondered who her savior was, Lu Xiao pushed aside the curtain and walked in. When Xian froze, how could it be him? Again. Lu Xiao cleared his throat deliberately and asked, "How are you feeling now?" When Xian said she felt better, to her surprise, Lu Xiao broke his usual stern demeanor and gently poured her a glass of water. "Here, drink some to soothe your throat," he said softly, but as soon as she sipped, she choked. Liu Xiao quickly patted her back. "Easy, drink slowly." When Xian suddenly felt he was a stranger. Was this really the same cold-faced Captain Lu? And in the next instant she was even more stunned as he gently wiped the water from the corner of her lips. When Xian stared at him in disbelief, while Lu Xiao couldn't figure out why she kept looking at him like that. He shouldn't have asked, because the moment he did when Xian teased, "Obviously because you're good-looking." The man's face flushed crimson. This woman had nearly lost her life yesterday, and today she was still acting like a little devil. She grinned wickedly. "Captain Lu, I haven't even slept with you yet. How could I bear to die?" Just then the old granny walked in, breaking the awkward moment. "What's so funny?" When Xian was about to spill what they'd just said, Lu Xiao panicked, instantly clamping a hand over her mouth and blurting, "Nothing. She just said she's hungry, that's all." When Xian tried to speak, but with her mouth covered, she could only playfully slip out her tongue to lick his hand. Liu Xiao's face turned scarlet in an instant. He bolted out of the room, leaving the granny baffled, wondering why Captain Lu looked like he was running away. When Xian watched his retreating back, her cheeks burning. Meanwhile, Lu Xiao himself stood at a distance, staring at his own fingers with a flushed face. When Xian burst out laughing, to her, Captain Lu was nothing less than a bashful sweetheart. A little later, Lu Xiao drove her out for some fresh air. When Xian hummed a tune, cheerful as a child, enjoying the wind on her face. Suddenly, the car window rolled up on its own, leaving her puzzled. The next second, the man's stern voice came, "Your body just recovered. No drafts for you. Sit tight." When Xian recalled what the old granny had said, this was the first time Captain Lu had ever been nervous because of a woman, and she told her to cherish it. A bitter smile curved her lips. He was as good a man as anyone could be. She was truly relieved she hadn't ruined him back then. Then, with a trace of sadness, she told Lu Xiao, "I booked a flight for tonight. I'll be leaving soon. I've caused you so much trouble these days. I sincerely apologized. I'm sorry." Lu Xiao didn't understand what she meant. Why was she suddenly apologizing? The next second, when Xian dropped a bombshell, "From now on, I won't bother you again." By all logic, the man should have been glad to be rid of this celebrity's trouble. Yet he felt no joy, because somewhere along the way he had already lost his heart. So when she said she wouldn't bother him anymore, his demeanor only grew colder. Unknowingly, they arrived at Fairy Lake. To break the awkward silence when Xian asked, "This place is beautiful. What's it called?" The man didn't answer right away. Instead, he lit a cigarette, exhaled a slow puff, and finally said, "This is Fairy Lake." When Xian instantly turned on her dramatics. "Wow, such a heavenly name." Then she added, "So, when are we heading back?" Lu Xiao, remembering what she had just said, snapped with a harsh tone, "What's the rush? I went out in the middle of the night to save you, haven't slept a wink, and now you expect me to hurry back. You think everyone's as well rested as you?" Seeing his temper flare when Xian quickly laughed it off, All right, take your time, take your time. She spun on her heel in a huff, leaving him alone with his cigarette. Muttering to herself, she complained, Captain Lu is impossible. If you cling to him, he's annoyed. If you don't, he's cold. Men are a riddle. Then she noticed a goat grazing in the distance, and a wolf stealthily stalking behind it. The wolf lunged at the antelope when it wasn't looking. A bigger antelope charged in and knocked the predator away. Hungry, the wolf shifted targets and tore into a smaller antelope instead. The little antelope knew its time was short. Sad tears welled in its eyes. When Xian froze, she hadn't expected to witness such brutal natural selection with her own eyes. Lu Xiao told her quietly, no creature escapes that rule. But when Xian just stood there rooted to the spot. The next moment Lu Xiao saw her tears and ached that he grabbed her hand and asked, Hey, what's wrong? Why are you crying? His move startled Wen Xian. She snatched her hand back and forced a smile. Don't worry about me, I'm fine. We'll be okay in a minute. She didn't want him to see her so weak and helpless. Lu Xiao hurried after her, worried. He warned that her condition was serious. Her altitude sickness wasn't simple. Before he could finish, Wen Xian cut him off. I know why I don't have a spleen, removed 10 years ago. I'm fine. I'm not going to die. The pain in his chest was obvious. He pressed for details. 10 years ago she was just a child. How much damage would removing a spleen do? When Xian replied coolly, she was kicked. Lu Xiao snapped. Who did it? She gave a bitter laugh. My father. At the thought of it, her tears started flowing uncontrollably. Her father was an abuser, worthless outside, and when he got humiliated he took it out on the family. That time he'd been fooling around. When her mother found out, he flew into a rage and hit her. The little girl jumped in front of her mother and cried, Stop! Don't hit my mom. Instead of stopping, her father turned on the child. He grabbed her by the hair and slammed her head against the wall. He spat insults. You and your mother are dead weight. I'll beat you to death. And the kick caused massive bleeding in her spleen. In the end, it had to be removed. She never knew anything like a loving father. The idea of fatherly love made her sick. When Xian broke down and sobbed uncontrollably, that scumbag didn't deserve her tears, and yet she couldn't help the hurt. Lu Xiao felt like his heart was being crushed, but he didn't know how to comfort her. The next second he pulled her into his arms, gently stroking her head. When Xian, it's over. All of that is over. She sobbed against his chest, unable to stop. But how could it ever be over? No matter how much she changed, those scars were carved deep into her memory. Back then her spleen could have been saved, half of it at least. All it would have taken was a few hundred yuan. Just that little. But that man refused and they cut it out completely. No matter how hard she trained over the years, she could never be like a truly healthy person. Thinking of that day still made her whole body tremble, her tears flowing endlessly. Lu Xiao's heart ached. He pulled her tight again. When Xian's voice broke as she cried harder. For just a few hundred yuan he could be that cruel. And he said I was the one without sympathy. She had no idea what love was. Who was more pitiful than her? No one had ever taught her the meaning of love. Lu Xiao knew the world was harsh, full of shadows and cruelty, but he refused to let her lose faith in it. He whispered, if the world won't be gentle, then let me try. Let me be your world. Slowly, when Xian calmed down, when she finally came to her senses, she noticed she had stained his clothes. Embarrassed, she apologized. Lu Xiao softly wiped away her tears and said, it's fine, that doesn't matter. As when Xian finally calmed down, it hit her. She had just cried in his arms. Embarrassed beyond belief, she spun around. I'll head to the car first. But the next second she tripped over a rock and went down with a thud, crying out in pain. Lu Xiao rushed to her side, anxious. What happened? Mortified, when Xian couldn't believe how clumsy she was today, ruining her image all at once. Through a whimper she said, sorry, I twisted my ankle. Lu Xiao crouched down, gently slipped off her shoe and massaged her ankle to ease the pain. He told her softly, you're the one hurt, you're the one in pain, there's nothing to apologize for. He couldn't understand how someone could be so afraid of troubling others that even in this moment she'd say sorry. When Xian gazed at him, her voice barely above a whisper. Lu Xiao? The next instant she confessed, I like you. The man froze, staring at her in disbelief. Lu Xiao, let Fairy Lake bear witness, I like you with all my heart. And Lu Xiao knew, Whether it was that stormy night when she risked herself for him or even earlier, he had already seen how sincere she was. When Xian's heart pounded after her confession, yet seeing Lu Xiao remain silent, his expression unreadable, she thought to herself, of course he's a man who belongs to the nation, profound and unfathomable. The next second, a sharp pain in her ankle snapped her out of it. She cried out in pain. When Xian was furious, she just poured out her heart and he was treating her like a patient. Her sincere feelings felt thrown away. Before she could protest, Lu Xiao slid his arms around her from behind and asked her to wiggle her foot to see if it still hurt. She tried, and to her surprise it didn't. Spotting him behind her, an idea popped into her head. She leaned against him, putting on a fragile act. "It hurts, I can't walk," she breathed. A moment later, Lu Xiao hoisted the fragile Wen Xian onto his back. She snuggled close and whispered something in his ear, but he didn't seem to hear it. He asked, "What did you just say?" She blinked, puzzled. "You didn't hear?" Then Wen Xian shouted, "Lu Xiao, my thoughts about you aren't pure. I want to sleep with you. I want to sleep with you. I want you." Her voice echoed across the clearing, startling even the antelope in the distance. Lu Xiao flushed, eyes closing. "Don't push your luck," he warned. Playful and bold, Wen Xian rubbed his cheek and teased, "No, I want you to push your luck." He shot back, "I'd rather toss you off than let you get away with that. Think about that." He warned her, "If you don't want to be thrown off, behave, squeeze your legs tight." When Xian protested with a petulant hum. Settling on his back, she leaned forward and whispered in his ear, "Captain Lu, believe me, at other times I can squeeze even tighter." He got the hint. Suddenly livid, Captain Lu set her down. "Fine. Walk on your own." When Xian pouted pitifully, "Lu Xiao, my ankle's sprained. It really hurts." Lu Xiao snapped back, "What, you think I fixed a fake leg for you just now?" When Xian was left speechless. She froze, then smacked herself on the cheek. "Serves me right, that should have kept my mouth shut." Just then her agent called again to confirm her flight. Everyone was waiting for her return. When Xian said, "I'll land at 3 in the morning. Be ready to pick me up." And the one scheduled to pick her up was the second young master of the Hua family. Liu Zhao's sharp ears caught the name, and suspicion instantly flickered in his mind. As when Xian was about to ask Lu Xiao to drive her to the airport, the off-road vehicle suddenly screeched to a halt. Startled, when Xian nearly jumped. Lu Xiao said gravely, "Looks like something's wrong with the car. I'll check it out." He got out to inspect. When Xian watched him work, completely uncertain. Her flight was tonight. Why did the car have to break down now? A wild thought crossed her mind. Could this bastard have done it on purpose? She shook her head immediately. No way. Captain Lu's such a straight-laced man, he'd never pull a stunt like that. Resigned, when Xian stepped out and asked, "So what's wrong with the car?" Lu Xiao replied, "Might be the fuel pump in the engine." When Xian rolled her eyes, "Unbelievable. Perfectly fine a moment ago and now it breaks down. Just my luck that if I don't get back tonight, Sister Lin will probably come at me with a knife." And sure enough, the worst came true. The next second, Lu Xiao told her, "We're not leaving tonight. Earliest is when the rescue team comes tomorrow. We'll have to camp out, and the tent must be up before dark." When Xian froze, then it sank in. She'd be spending the night outdoors, and he only had one tent. The man even warned her coldly, "This is out of necessity. Don't get any impure ideas tonight." When Xian scoffed, "Please, I'm just a delicate girl. What could I possibly do to you?" Lu Xiao muttered, "Who knows?" She sat quietly watching as he set up the tent. Once he finished, she tidied the inside while he got the food and fire ready. Soon the aroma of cooking filled the air. When everything was done, Lu Xiao leaned against the car to rest. When Xian thought, seriously, keeping that much distance, does he really think I'll pounce on him? She lay down, humming softly that she'd thought she'd be on a plane tonight. Never expected she'd end up sharing a tent with him. Just then, footsteps approached. When Xian's heart tightened, she knew it was him. She panicked, unsure whether to keep pretending to sleep or to give herself away. But Lu Xiao didn't come inside. Instead, he sat outside the tent and asked if she was cold. She quickly replied, "I'm not." He answered lightly, "Good." "Lu Xiao, aren't you coming in?" she asked softly. He said he wasn't sleepy yet. When Xian immediately sat up. Maybe it was just her imagination, but tonight he felt unusually gentle. She stepped out of the tent, gave him an awkward smile and asked what he was doing out there. then decided to sit beside him. Tilting her head to the sky, Wen Xian felt tonight's Milky Way looked especially beautiful. She sighed. Humans are so small in front of nature. What she didn't realize was that while she gazed at the stars, someone else was gazing at her. She didn't understand why he kept looking. Then Lu Xiao slowly leaned closer and Wen Xian shyly lowered her head. The superstar was just about to reel in the man she'd longed for, when the moment was broken by a sudden phone call. Her expression darkened as she looked at the screen, then decisively powered it off. The next second she even tossed the phone aside. Liu Xiao, sharp-eyed, had already seen the caller ID. It was that Manhua again. He found it strange. Why wouldn't she answer? Wen Xian raised her hand and swore, I'm really not close to him. I don't know him and we have nothing between us. But Lu Xiao wasn't convinced. If you don't know him, then how does he have your number? Wen Xian insisted, I swear we're nothing. He's been chasing me, but I've always treated him like a sister. Lu Xiao actually thought she was talking about a woman. In reality, the guy was a man, just prettier than most women, almost better looking than Wen Xian herself. Basically a pampered pretty boy. In her heart, Wen Xian muttered an apology to Hu Qi. Sorry sis, but I'll have to sacrifice you tonight. She quickly turned back to Lu Xiao, declaring her true feelings. I'm only interested in you. From the first moment I saw you I wanted to. Realizing what she was blurting out, she slapped her hand over her mouth. What the hell am I saying? Both of them flushed crimson, unable to look each other in the eye. After a long silence, Wen Xian shyly asked, should we keep going? Lu Xiao shot back, keep going with what? Mortified, Wen Xian waved it off. Forget it. I'm tired. I'll just go inside first. But the very next second, Lu Xiao leaned in and captured the lips he'd long dreamed of. They melted into each other's arms. In a low voice he asked for her opinion. Shall we take this inside? Then he swept Wen Xian into his arms and carried her into the tent. The superstar had finally won the man she longed for. They held each other sweetly while a distant antelope pricked up its ears. Was it hearing something strange? Inside the tent, the two of them stayed wrapped in each other's arms. Even the antelope blushed and bolted away. At dawn, Wen Xian called her agent, explaining why she hadn't returned last night and promising again, this time I'll really go back. After hanging up, she looked at Lu Xiao and instantly recalled last night. Just thinking about it made her flush. Car trouble? Please. Captain Lu was the one who really went bad. They walked side by side. Liu Xiao noticed her steps trembling slightly and asked with concern, are you okay? Do you need me to carry you? Wen Xian snapped, fuming, shut up, and strode ahead, leaving him behind. Knowing she was about to leave, Wen Xian felt reluctant. She couldn't help but ask, Lu Xiao, will you come find me? He froze, staring blankly at her. Afraid of his answer, Wen Xian quickly brushed it off. Forget it. Then she changed the subject, asking him to take some photos. She kept striking different poses. Lu Xiao bent down carefully, playing the role of her photographer. Wen Xian scrolled through the shots, muttering about posting a 9-square collage on Weibo. One by one she complained, this one's no good. That one's no good. Do it again. She posed again and Lu Xiao obediently clicked away. At last she got the perfect shot, worlds apart from the earlier ones. Lu Xiao couldn't help but sigh. This woman really dared to make up words, like 2 farts apart. He even added casually, close enough that I've seen it stick out even more. Wen Xian was stunned. Had she misheard? Did those words really come from the cold, serious Captain Lu? When it came time to part ways, he still hadn't asked for her contact info. Wen Xian thought bitterly maybe this night meant nothing to him at all. Instead, he urged her to leave and personally walked her to security. Reluctantly, Wen Xian tugged his sleeve and asked for his number, saying she'd send him the photos later. But he simply replied, no need. I already have your number. She froze, realizing he'd had her contact all along. Flustered, she stammered, then I'll be going. Just before she stepped into the checkpoint, Lu Xiao suddenly called out, Wen Xian, take care. They waved goodbye. Wen Xian's heart sank, because even now he hadn't given her a single promise. Watching her walk away, Lu Xiao made his vow silently. Wen Xian, I will come for you. Wen Xian boarded the plane heavy-hearted. A flight attendant came over and asked gently, do you still need your backpack? If not, I can place it in the overhead for you. Just as she handed her backpack to the flight attendant, Wen Xian froze. There was a slip of paper inside she hadn't noticed before. On it were the words, "When I see no one else. Only you. With you, you are my sun, and I cannot look away. Without you, I lower my head and see no one at all." She only snapped out of it when the attendant gently called her back. Wenxian held the note, reading it again and again. "When I see no one else. Only you." Her earlier disappointment vanished in an instant, replaced by a rush of sweetness. A fellow passenger noticed her glowing expression and secretly snapped a photo, posting it on Weibo. The caption read, "Spotted the goddess on my flight. Look at Wenxian smiling like that. Don't you think she's in love?" As the plane took off, everyone switched off their phones or went into airplane mode. When Wenxian landed, fans were already waiting for her at the airport. Some screamed with joy just because she glanced their way. One male fan even shouted at the top of his lungs, "Wife, I love you." In the past, Wenxian would have brushed it off. But now that her heart belonged to someone, she felt she should rein it in. With a playful smile, she replied, "Behaved it. That's not something you can just call me." Still, the fan kept yelling, "Wife?" Outside the airport, the second young master of the Hua group had been waiting for quite some time. The moment when Xian appeared, Huiqi rushed forward with a bouquet of roses, pulling off his glasses. Xian, I came to pick you up." He had even invited reporters to capture the scene, hoping to stir up a scandal. When Xian shot him a sharp gesture and snapped, "Are you looking to die? You brat, how dare you try to hype up fake gossip?" Huiqi pressed on, "Why did you go to the no man's land? Don't tell me you were sneaking around with someone behind my back?" When Xian fired back, "Do I need to report to you where I go, and whether I mess around or not? What business is that of yours?" Huiqi pulled out his phone and showed her a photo. "I've never seen you smile like this before." Only then did Wenxian realize she had been secretly photographed. Huiqi declared, "I've been chasing you for nearly 2 years. If anyone dares to steal you away, I'll never forgive him." Wenxian thought to herself, this spoiled young master against Captain Lu's muscles. He'd better focus on keeping himself alive. Huiqi froze, shocked. "So there really is someone. Tell me, who is it?" Wenxian refused, smirking. "What do you think? Could it possibly be you?" Huiqi's mood instantly crashed to rock bottom. Returning from the wilderness, Wenxian couldn't help but reflect. Shanghai and the no man's land were like two different worlds. Did I end the city? People clawed for fame and fortune. But out there in the wild, that was her world. Her agent, Sister Lin, began arranging her schedule for the next day. Wenxian, however, asked her to look out for any collaboration opportunities in the West, especially around Luhai. Lin immediately understood. Wenxian must have had a special experience there. Still, she supported the idea, knowing it would benefit Wenxian's future. Not long ago, Wenxian had received a script from director Li Sun, one of the top filmmakers in the country, known for chasing international awards. This year he was preparing to shoot a new project in the West, though he was notoriously demanding about his cast. Before Lin could finish explaining, Wenxian cut her off, blurting out, "No matter what the conditions are, you have to get me this script." Lin urged her not to rush. "This project is about wildlife conservation. The conditions will be grueling and the filming cycle will be long. On top of that, Li Sun was famously against paying celebrities sky-high fees. It was a completely different direction from her usual roles." Lin admitted she hadn't even considered it. Besides, the lead role had already been taken. Wenxian's heart sank. How could this be? In the past, all she cared about was profit, because only money gave her a sense of security. But after meeting Lu Xiao, she found herself wanting to do things that truly mattered, at least within her own ability. Wenxian told Sister Lin that no matter what, she had to help her land this film. She didn't care if she got paid a single cent, she just had to get the role. Her agent was stunned, secretly thinking that Wenxian must have been bewitched by some wild man out in Luhai. Wenxian didn't expect Lin to hit the bullseye with that guess. Her thoughts were written all over her face. Lin sighed softly and said she understood. She reminded Wenxian that if she wanted to protect the one she cared about, she had to keep a low profile. Still, Lin promised to fight for the role on her behalf. Overjoyed, Wenxian threw her arms around Lin. "Love you, Manhwa." But the script's original female lead was none other than the sister of producer Qing Dongyuan. To secure the role, Wenxian would have to speak to him privately. The problem was Qing Dongyuan also happened to be her ex-boyfriend. Lin teased, "Well, looks like your ex might give you trouble." Wenxian brushed it off. "No, way that we broke up peacefully. Outsiders thought we dated for over a year, but in reality, we were just a couple in name only. She remembered her early days in the industry. Without Ching Dongyuan's protection, she could never have stayed untouched. She had always known he liked her, but to her he was nothing more than an older brother figure. The only reason he was willing to help her was because she had once saved his life. When they broke up, they agreed to go their separate ways. Now, after so long apart, asking him for the female lead role made Wenxian feel awkward. Sister Lin teased her. So, still planning to run back to Luhai to see your old flame? Wenxian immediately made up her mind. Yes. Set it up as soon as possible. Lin grew even more curious that if even Qing Dongyuan couldn't win her over, then what kind of man had managed to capture her heart so completely? Wenxian froze for a moment, then answered with conviction. He's the best man in the world. At that very moment, the man Wenxian called the best had already returned quietly to Shanghai. He went to the hospital to see his father and told the nurse he was looking for Lu Gongqing. The nurse was stunned. She hadn't expected this handsome young man to be connected to such a powerful figure. She quickly led him to the ward. Inside, Lu Zhao's father was leisurely watering flowers. Liu Xiao pushed the door open and froze, his face full of exasperation. So this was the bedridden patient his mother had mentioned. He called out, "Mom." The two inside were startled and Mother Lu stood there stunned. Her son had really come back. Father Lu was overjoyed but still snorted coldly. So you do remember to come home. I thought I'd be in my coffin before you bothered to show up. After years apart, Lu Xiao finally came home to visit his parents, only to be scolded the moment he walked in. His mother pulled him into her arms, snapping at her husband. What nonsense are you talking about? Our son rarely comes back. Can't you say something nice for once? Father Lu coughed awkwardly and sat back down on the bed. Mother Lu gently asked, "How have you been over there? Are you exhausted?" But Father Lu cut in, grumbling that at his age it would be better to ask if he had a girlfriend. His mother sighed. Living in such a remote place, how could he possibly find one? To their shock, Lu Xiao calmly replied, "I already have a girlfriend." Both parents froze, stunned that their son had actually started dating, and even more shocked to hear that the girl lived in Shanghai. Their eyes instantly lit up. Mother Lu pressed for details about her future daughter-in-law while Father Lu huffed, "My health may not be the best, but I can still hold on for a few years. Don't think you can fool me with lies." But Lu Xiao had already asked the nurse and knew the truth. His father's tumor was benign, and he still had decades ahead of him. Exposed on the spot, Father Lu snapped in embarrassment, "Don't I know my own body? Which nurse said that nonsense?" Mother Lu quickly tried to calm him down. Just then, their cousin Li Ziyun walked in, wide-eyed with surprise. She hadn't expected her cousin to actually come home. She told Lu Xiao that she had been the one taking care of his parents all these years, and how hard it had been. Liu Xiao immediately nodded and said, "Thank you that you've worked hard." Li Ziyun then launched into her usual rambling complaints. Father Lu pressed harder, demanding details about this so-called girlfriend and insisting that Lu Xiao show him a photo. Even his cousin didn't believe it. With his cold, solitary personality, how could he possibly have a girlfriend? She was convinced he was lying. To prove them wrong, Lu Xiao pulled out his phone and proudly showed them a picture of Wenxian. The three of them stared at the screen, completely stunned. Then his cousin burst out laughing. "If your girlfriend is really Wenxian, then my boyfriend must be Daniel Wu. Seriously, you think you can fool us with a celebrity's photo? Do you take us for idiots?" Mother Lu also suspected her son was bluffing, while Father Lu grew furious, hurling a cup at him. "Get out! Get the hell out of my house, you worthless brat!" Lu Xiao caught the cup midair and said in a low, firm voice, "Wenxian really is my girlfriend." His cousin only fanned the flames, sneering that he was just being stubborn, lying without even blushing. Liu Xiao felt like there was no place for him in this house anymore and turned to leave. He hailed a cab, not even sure where he was headed. Meanwhile, Wenxian was attending her movie premiere. Fans screamed her name non-stop. "Wenxian! Wenxian!" At that moment, Wenxian made her grand entrance. Dressed in a stunning purple gown, she looked absolutely untouchable. Walking right beside her like a gallant escort was Heir, playing the role of her guardian. Hidden in the crowd, Lu Xiao finally understood why his family refused to believe Wenxian was his girlfriend, because the two of them lived in completely different worlds. After finishing the red carpet walk, Wenxian felt like something was missing. She suddenly turned and froze when she spotted a familiar silhouette. Heir noticed her staring off into the distance and asked what was wrong. Wen Xian was stunned that he was supposed to be in Luhai. How could he possibly be in Shanghai? It had to be a mistake. Just someone with a similar build that it couldn't be him. Forcing herself to stay composed, she went on stage and delivered her speech at the premiere. Meanwhile, Heir stepped outside for some air. Ever since Wen Xian had returned from Luhai, he felt she wasn't the same, though he couldn't pinpoint why. Jogging lightly to clear his head, he muttered to himself, "Could it be? She really has someone else out there?" Just then he spotted a man leaning against the wall up ahead, smoking in the hallway. Heir had no idea who he was. Back here at the side entrance it was usually either bodyguards or paparazzi, so he slowly walked closer. Lu Xiao noticed him as well. Heir nudged him, asking for a cigarette, but Lu Xiao just stared without saying a word. Heir frowned. Why was this guy staring at him like that? Did they know each other? Annoyed, he simply grabbed one himself. He lit it and took a puff, only to cough violently the next second. What the hell is this? Why is it so strong? Lu Xiao snatched it back. For yuan. Big front gate brand. Heir was stunned. His parents ran a trading business, and with his privileged upbringing he had never touched anything this cheap in his life. Lu Xiao knew this was Wen Xian's so-called rumored boyfriend, that he'd been uneasy before meeting him, but seeing him now he actually felt relieved. This guy was definitely not Wen Xian's type. Noticing the man's solid build, Heir guessed he could fight well and casually asked which family he worked for as a bodyguard. He even gave Lu Xiao's chest a playful punch, muttering how great it would be to poach someone like him to protect Wen Xian. Lu Xiao had no idea what this guy was up to, until Heir bluntly offered to pay him double to guard his girlfriend. Lu Xiao almost laughed from anger. Heir declared with a straight face, "My girlfriend is the superstar Wen Xian." Lu Xiao shot back coldly, "Does she even know that?" Caught red-handed, Heir froze, unable to meet his gaze. "Hey, don't ask what you shouldn't. Whether she admits it or not, it's only a matter of time," Heir muttered, then clapped Lu Xiao on the shoulder. He explained that his girlfriend had way too many guys chasing after her, so he wanted Lu Xiao to keep an eye out, especially for any strange men hanging around her. And as the so-called strange man himself, Lu Xiao was left completely speechless.